a huge hand to Jay, because the way I got connected, and as a speaker here, without Jay, it wouldn't have happened. He has proved what networking is. Even though I'm Kaustav Chaudhuri, I'm founder of Pitch Globally. Now US Angels has become our co-founder. And even though I'm supporting TiE's events in San Francisco for 4 years, not much last 1 year, because now they don't need me anymore. But I help them, get their original, following going at DLA Piper. And my friend Ankur Jain, who I do a lot of events with, he owns his own fund. He was with Bloomberg Capital before and Nexus. And we just hosted the CEO of Nutanix, Dheeraj Pandey, last month. And he had introduced me to Jay over email. And Jay took the time to talk to me, introduce me to Dipti. Dipti introduced me to Naim Zafar. It was like a 3-4 months journey. But Jay was a prime mover. And that is the key of networking. Going and making a connection and helping others without thinking, what is my immediate value? Without that, networking doesn't exist. So on that note, I'm going to begin this event. We are gonna make it as interactive and fun as possible. My biggest fear is I'll be so boring and everything will be on the slides so that the next event people don't have to come. They can just look at the slides from home. So I'm not big fan of slides, but Naim Zafar said your slides has to be there. So I have put a lot of stuff on the slide. Pardon me if some doesn't make sense, because I believe that if everything makes sense, you are living in the past, because the future is asymmetrical and messy. You don't know what you don't know. So if I make a mistake, I'm really excited. Yay, you know what, I'm on the right path. So on that note, I am going to pick 2 people. Who is an extrovert here? Okay, raise hands. Someone raise hands who's an extrovert. Come on, okay. You've already committed. Now you can't be commitment phobic because you've already raised your hand. Amit Jain, and 1 introvert. 1 introvert, come on. Those who has not raised hand is an introvert. You're an introvert. Okay, so we want to see that an introvert comes to a networking event and greeted by the extrovert. Let's see how the networking happens. Okay, you're here, Amit comes here. And so Amit is leading this event. He's been here for a while. He has met everybody. And suddenly he senses a new person. What's your name? Ashok. So Ashok comes in and no one is looking at him. So Amit takes the initiative and greets him. So let's see. Next 1 minute, let's see some networking.
Hi Ashok, how are you?
Good,
I'm Amit.
I'm Ashok.
I'm leading the talk today. Sorry, that's difficult to say. Okay. So I actually work for a company in San Francisco.
Okay.
So what do you do? What do you do?
I'm a Salesforce architect.
Okay.
And I work for the ad tech industry in Redwood City.
Oh, great. Where do you live?
Santa Clara.
Great. I live there too. Sounds good.
Okay,
Actually, I don't.
Fantastic. That networking is also about breaking the ice and reaching out from, comfort zone and try to connect with new people, try to create some commonalities so that you can build a bond. Well, I'm throwing networking events for 6-7 years. My background is human resource and organization behavior. I always wanted to work with people and help them. I went to XLRI in India and a little bit here, but I dropped out in the late 90s. And then about 10, 11 years ago, I wanted to get back to HR. I like the behavioral aspect of HR, but I don't like the bureaucracy. So I was trying to figure out what is a way by which you can keep one leg in HR. And I was part of a team which wrote TiE Global's book, The First Mile. This was like 11 years ago. And that motivated me to write my own book. I wrote it for 7 years, but 1.2, I didn't get much traction. This was about 5 years ago, and I started throwing events, tech events, and they really took off. And now it's really expanded, and people come to me from all around the world, and I'm networking, earning living from networking full time. because people are paying me to access investors. Initially, it was fake it till you make it, and now US Angels has become our co-founder, and they are connected with part of Keiretsu Forum, Harvard Business School Angels, all the top. So we are now expanding to other cities and countries. So on that note, I have actually made this presentation like, hopefully I'll make this into a book one day. So I have created the structure of this presentation I hope I'm gonna turn this into a book. So it is structured as a book. So if some of it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. But I'm gonna read the 3 parts. Part A is design the change. I read some design thinking, and I think if we do not work on our change, if we do not work on our deeper levels, we cannot really make networking successful. Because a lot of your outer reality is a function of your inner self. And so that's part A, design the change. Part B is the 7 rules, which I've come out with, which I'm gonna read soon. And part C is thrive. So you got to take networking to the next level. If you just network and really can't create value out of it, then you go back to square one and you also become disheartened. So part C is thrive, convert connections into wealth and wellness, and last but not the least, make everyone thrive. We are just going to focus on the 7 rules because they ourselves can be pretty intimidating. And I'm sure we'll take at least an hour to go through them. So I'll briefly read out the rules, and then we'll delve into the rules one by one. 7 rules. Rule 1, connect with new people outside your social network. Connect with new knowledge. This is a very expanded form of networking. So it's just not networking with new people. It could be network with new knowledge, new experience. These are very rooted in deep philosophy. Philosophy of knowledge is called epistemology. I am a stupid person who has spent a lot of time studying them, and I want to make sure you guys don't. So I have abridged it so that you can get a taste of a lot of contextual knowledge. Rule 3, connect with new experience. New 4, connect in new ways like volunteerism, which TiE is the holy grail for that. Volunteerism, most of us have done some volunteerism for TiE back in the days. Rule 5, connect with your inner self. Rule 6, communicate your pitch. And rule 7 is the ultimate aim of networking, which is be found on social media or anything. Be found through your personal brand. Because most of the time something is not successful is because of time and chance. And if you can create the right strategy where someone is approaching you, then you have overcome limitation of time and you have created luck and chance to work in your favor. So now we go to rule 1. Connect with new people. Approach with how can I help attitude. Then the second is build trust and generate social capital. Now this is very important. Sometimes one word is repeated so many times that it loses its meaning and relevance. Now I will just give an example which kind of defines social capital and how it can create trust. Now there was a very famous study done in Italy where the Italian government took big decision to decentralize and give powers to the states. And after 15 years, they hired very famous American sociologists to see the effects of decentralization. And the biggest conclusion was that northern Italy is like one of the most advanced countries in the world, and southern Italy is much more backward. And the prime reason is in the north, there is a lot of clubs, associations, organizations like TiE, people really help each other. And in southern Italy, Sicily is part of southern Italy. Name one thing which Sicily is famous for. Mafia. Exactly, mafia. There is so much distrust that you have to hire people to protect yourself against the neighborhood. So social capital is one way you can create money out of thin air. Who wouldn't want to do that? But the secret sauce of doing that is to create mutual trust in a community. So adopt the values of your community. I'm gonna briefly go through them. Attend events and conferences outside your main interests. Nourish your ego and handle rejection better. Now, when you are going and networking, means if you meet 10 people and 5 want to connect with you, that's a very high level of success. But the way our mind works is when we get rejections, we feel there is something about us and we really reduce or shy back. So we need to really nurture ourselves and say, hey, that person doesn't want to connect with me, that person's loss. You know, I was doing him a favor by connecting with him or her. So you got to start thinking like that, where you got to manage your ego. You know, the ego, I don't want to get into that. Starts from the philosophy of the mind. A lot of like Eastern Hindu philosophy really gets you into what is ego, what is part of your mind. The mind has 4 parts: manas, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, but I don't want to get into and spoil the mood. But nourish your ego, connect with mentors, and be one yourself. The best way you can be a mentor or get mentorship is just start small and mentor someone. And TiE, by doing all these events, pitch events for classes and all, is a tremendous role model of mentorship. And inspire followership and become a social influence. So that's rule 1. What we'll do at end of every rule, we'll take questions, a couple of questions, in case there is any. Any question on any of these points?
Kaustav, I have a question.
Sure.
Could you elaborate a little more on social capital? How do I know it when I see it?
Yeah. No, I got the question. You want to repeat to microphone? Okay. They want you to repeat because the microphone didn't get it. I repeat the question. Okay. How do you see social capital when you see it? How do you recognize it is social capital or not? This is it's like quantum physics. When you see something, the alternate choice merges into one reality. So I think one way could be the coherence in the group. In this kind of group, there is more trust because most people have common origins. So we feel, okay, we can create social capital easier where there is less boundaries. But social capital can be created in most groups. And TiE is a biggest example of social capital which has created so many companies from the mid-90s onwards. It is all, TiE, if you look at TiE's history, how did all people who did not get funding, how did the TiE seniors who have exited companies, they put the money just on faith and trust, and that's why they were huge winners. So a lot of it is about once something happens, then you realize it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Thank you. Any more question?
Yeah. Well, you just give an example of an introvert and an extrovert and so on. So there could be some barriers to basically connecting with new people, right? If somebody is reserved or introverted, they would not tend to do this, even within your social network as opposed to outside your social network. So how do you take care of those barriers? Right? Do you have any, I know you're going to have an exercise at the end of the thing, but then what the first thing you'll do before you just go in? You just basically just do it? Or do you have any other tips to connect with new people outside your network?
It depends on a lot of factors. Maybe what kind of profession you are in, what kind of, in some levels, maybe you can expand the people you know. If you are introverted, maybe go to those events where you know people, and then go to events where they go. Maybe start with contextual events. Maybe go to events where people in your network goes. or ask them to make some introductions. Because you cannot avoid networking. You need to network. That's why TiE is so successful, because it has fostered networking on global level. So if someone realizes they are introverted and they have barrier, that itself is a good starting point. Then they can take the necessary action to overcome that. But if they just withdraw into their mind and behaves that, okay, you know what, networking is stupid, I'm gonna make it anyway, then they are just deluding themselves. Okay, last question.
Yeah, I'm gonna just make some comment, and
Sure.
I'll probably try to create some controversy here.
Sure.
So something that you mentioned that, if somebody rejects you, and your attitude is, okay, that person's loss, right? I have a lot to offer, and that person actually is not taking it. Isn't that, your ego coming in there? Maybe you should be thinking something else. You should be probably thinking, I probably don't have anything to offer right now to this person. Maybe I take another shot at it next time, or rethink as to what is important to this person, and I can take it in a different level, right? So it's just a mindset, and I'm just trying to see,
Yeah, I'll give you best answer I can. Let's look at the slide below. Part A, design the change. First thing is called embrace the paradox of change. So we are both correct. So the thing is, there's no right answer. It's you have to use your ego as your slave. Ego should listen to you, not you listen to ego. So you use it when you need it, and you suspend it when you don't need it. But you're right too. We are both correct. Okay, now we.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
I don't even go back to your other slide.
Okay.
When you said, how can I help?
Yeah.
How do I know what the person is needing? What kind of help is needing? And how does he know that I'm a subject matter expert?
You don't, if you don't ask, how can I help, then you won't know. And subject matter help expert, you don't always need subject matter experts.
Okay, just.
Yeah, because.
So if I say, hey, how can I help?
Yeah.
Say, who the hell are you? I don't understand that very first bullet.
As I said, this is not meant for understanding. It's embrace the paradox of change. You can operate at a multiple level of reality. And also, in today's day and age, your context is becoming very important also. So it's not only the subject, but what most change is coming from the periphery of the context. One example I give is, if I'm spending too much time on this, but I'll just give this example. If I were Yellow Cab in San Francisco 7-8 years ago, I'm so focused, my vision has become the top cab company in San Francisco, that I'm so focused on that I lack peripheral vision. I'm not seeing the changes coming from the side, which is peer-to-peer, Ubers and Lyfts. So subject matter expert is good, but the next change will happen from beyond your subject. And it is good to meet people from outside the background. And on that note, we'll move to the next one, next rule. If this follows rules, because sometimes it doesn't. Okay, this I'm gonna get through very briefly, because I had written this for a much all-day kind of a thing, and I didn't customize it. Connect with new knowledge outside your education. It's kind of related to what I just said. Your next input or your next breakthrough will come from something outside what you know. It is also related to the next one, which is connect with new experience outside your comfort zone. I'll give an instance, the discovery of the printing press. It happened, Gutenberg, who founded printing press, he went wine tasting and saw wine presses, how grapes are pressed into wine. And from that, he got the breakthrough idea of printing press. And innovation happens when you recombine experience in your mind. You take something from a totally different domain, and that will give you the breakthrough leap, and which is very important. And a lot of innovation, I would think 70% of innovation happens through networking. But because networking is not considered to be, not that educational, and I want to break that gap, people, once they do the innovation, they really reduce the effect of networking in it. But if you really look back at history, a lot of the time when really knowledge has been created and breakthroughs has happened, it's happened from networking. Like when the Royal Society was started in Britain in the late, say, 17th century, Isaac Newton and all, they really came up with laws of physics and others. A lot of it has happened because different types of people could come together and network with each other. But once they achieved the glory, they put networking in the back burner. But end of the day, it was because people networked from different backgrounds. So that's connected to having a laboratory mentality, make other people's user experience of you joyful. That is also.
I have that's a very nice point that you put across in terms
Thank
of
you.
how you make the other person look at you from a present experience perspective. But at times what happens is when you have an intent as to why you are networking with that person, how do you kind of, maybe you touch upon the art of networking.
Sure.
So that it doesn't come across as being in your face, because you are kind of trying to pitch and you're trying to get something out of that short interaction you have with that person, and how you make yourself pleasant. I think those are skills that probably are required over a period of time.
Sure, I think that's a great, very pertinent question.
Yeah.
And I'll give my example. I sometimes throw events with other people and they say, okay, some people make them VIP, some people charge them more. I mean, I feel when I do an event, I want everyone to be equal and welcomed. Of course, if I feel I can go deeper with some people, I will do a separate event and make it invite only. But the key is at that point, and especially in Silicon Valley, so many new in towns are coming. You just don't know who these people are. So even if I use the word politically correct, you just have to be. You just have to make sure you give people the right user experience. Otherwise, it's all adds up and you just don't know which person is going to create the butterfly effect and take you to the next level of excellence. And one of my favorite saying is, what you think will happen may not happen, but what you think won't happen may happen. So the key is to expand the repertoire of your choices so that the one you least expect or the person who least you think will benefit you. Like I throw so many investor events and people who are coming, they only want to meet investors. And there are so many other people in the room. I'm like, you may meet someone who may be a paper pusher in a big company and you can get such a big contract. Maybe she works for Pepsi and Pepsi will take your your app in all their customers. So you don't even need your funding. But I see it all the time. People are coming, only they want to meet investors. And there are other people around, whatever they are, they won't even consider if they're not an investor. I always encourage people saying, hey, just get to know, get in front, at least get a sense of people. All right. Are we doing well on time? Is the TiE people here?
Can we ask a question?
Sure.
I don't understand the bullet. Test your judgment through future experience.
Means what kind of, say you're going to a networking event or any event, you just have to, judgment is something which is part of our mind. If I don't want to get into, but according to philosophy, judgment, we cannot escape judgment. Because if someone says, I'm not judgmental or I don't have any ego, that means that person's IQ is 0, like technically. So what happens is we form a judgment because our mind will form judgment. We cannot avoid judgment, but we have to try out and see whether our judgment is correct or not.
So, all my life I thought judgment was something you learn from your past experiences, what you have done, what you have learned, and that you apply to the future judgment. But the bullet, I don't really understand.
Well, what I said, I know I have studied this Indian philosophy, which is Manas Buddhi Ankara Chitta. And manas is that which weighs pros and cons. Buddhi is the intelligence, that which judges. So we cannot avoid judgment because it's a part of our mind. But what we can do is, okay, we have formed a judgment, but we are going to try out, have a laboratory mentality, and try out whether that judgment is correct or not. I mean, I've had each instance where one of my friends, he was working as a VC. Then for a while, he started some company. That company failed, and everyone was saying, "Gosh, this person is nothing now because he was a VC." But I mean, I always liked this person, and I always kept in touch. And suddenly, I saw he raised a big fund. I'm like, great. I was like, and so other people could have been judgmental of this person.
Just describe experience.
Yeah.
Do you know what gut feel is? What is gut feel?
It's your
Gut
intuition,
feel
wisdom
is-
of your
gut feel
body.
is all the experience and the failures and the past education you have. That's called gut feel. Who has the best do the best prediction in future? Who has the best gut feel? Who has gone through the failures? He who knows that you have done it and you should not do this again. That doesn't mean that in the future they won't make mistakes, but at least if you are cognizant of what you did in the past, you will not repeat it in the future. That's what gut feel and experience is all about. And that's where I find it very difficult to understand that bullet.
Once again, what I said in the previous answer, we can both be correct. Aldous Huxley, who was one of the gurus of the New Age, he says experience is not what happens to you, but what you do with what happens to you. So your experience can change over time.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Because if I understand correctly, what the sentence means is that, okay, based on your experience, make the judgment, keep that judgment with you, and then when you interact with that person, going forward in future, test whether your judgment is still valid or not. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly.
So the other
Go read
thing
the
is,
bullet, the language of the bullet.
Oh, I see.
That's
can
where I'm
you
really
go
trying to
back to the
challenge that.
slide?
Sure.
Maybe also turn your phone.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that sentence?
Yeah, no? This one? This one? Next one? Rule 3, okay.
You test your judgment through future experience.
Yeah.
You understand?
What's in
Okay, we
for
will
me,
discuss
right?
that.
Even for networking, because the first thing, what's in for me when you network, it should be mutual, otherwise you're wasting your time, energy, and it's just not going anywhere. Because it should be, they get something out of you and you get something out, even if it's just a social, but they will think, okay, why should I connect with this person, what I'm benefiting? So then in the short interaction, all that should come out from both sides, so that you also feel the same, that why should I mix?
Well, initially, people are at a I don't know that I don't know quadrant. It's very tough in such a short time to create the judgment. So even if one creates a judgment, because the mind will create a judgment, key is to talk to the person again. I'm like, okay, I give an example that of this person who I know very well. He was like a high flyer, and for a while he was kind of doing nothing, and people thought, oh, now this guy is gone. But he wasn't, and I was always his good friend, and now this person is really shining. So it's all about others created a judgment of this person, and then he or she thought, okay, now the judgment is this person is no longer useful. Whereas for me, I was his friend, and I always was curious about this person's, how he thought. And now suddenly, I mean, this person is doing so well, it's tremendous. So that's an example. Example may not be the best, because as I said, if I'm right in every point, then something is wrong with me. Because being right and logic means it is function of the past, and future is asymmetrical, and we have to embrace some failure, we have to embrace some loss and some being wrong to be on the right path. So we'll just
So all your bullets, I agree, but the one that I just pointed out, that is in contradiction to everything else.
it could be. I mean, definitely it could be. Okay, rule 4, connect in new ways like volunteerism. TiE is the ultimate place where so many connections has been made and people have started billions. I mean, I know someone, he was engineer on H1 in Cisco, and he got so connected in TiE, and Cisco, after they bought WebEx or something like that, right? And Cisco did some event in fashion and got millions of hits. And Cisco does not want to be in fashion business. So he started fashion company while he was still on H1 with a partner who was on green card. And he got acquired by Myntra, India's largest fashion company, which got acquired by Flipkart. And he became investor in Flipkart. And so, but to begin with, he got so connected in TiE that he got the mentorship and the start, even the dream and guts to start the company. And philanthropy, for me, I've lived in San Francisco a long time, and I have been throwing meetups from very early, and I always supported a lot of charity and philosophy, and I developed reputation that whoever wants to post their charity, I let them do this. And this attracted a lot of top shots because they wanted more people to their event. And I got on the board of a very prominent law firm owner with 40 lawyers, Royce Law. I was on his board, and after he won, I got onto the regional board of America's biggest blood cancer organization, Leukemia Society. And through that, I became mentor of a lot of semi-socialites, and I really got very connected. And one thing just leads to the other. That was not my goal, but I just got very connected with very wide range of events. Even connecting back with TiE, last year Shaukat wanted me to be an advisor of the fashion show. That's why I came back to TiE. So it's like everything is very related. So the key is to do this skillfully and put some thought to it. It's not that I'm just showing up here. If you go back, take a step backward and really observe your experience, or before coming here, plot things well. And sometimes a lot of success is luck. Even today what I did, I would have normally come here at 6 o'clock, but one Korean incubator asked me to speak to them, so they were next door and I was done at 3. And today I came and talked to all the people at TiE. I got to really connect and make good bonds and realize we have some deep connections with some of these people, like Vijay and all these people. In a normal course, I wouldn't do that. So what do I learn? That, okay, if I'm a speaker, I should go early at least and really try to get in with the people who are organizing the events. So that's my takeaway. So a lot of new ways of connecting are coming, and just keep observing. Just see what people you admire or create some role models for networking. People who are networked well just don't think that, okay, they are just smoozers, maybe they have some skill, and try to better them, beat them at their own game, so that you can really make the right connections. And sometimes connections won't happen, but if you're added, if the luck is added to that, the timing is correct, then that connection will take you to the next level of excellence. So any questions on this? This is like the top thing in networking. Connect in new ways, like volunteerism, like philanthropy.
What do you mean by improve social health of your people?
That means that if you are in a,
Spiritual intelligence, what does that mean?
it is, since this is taken from my book, Design Your Mindset, so it is about following some of the deeper laws of all philosophy, of different religions. They all have some universal facts, like, like the Bible says, it has the golden rule, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. So it is about tapping deeper wisdom and applying it on networking.
Can I ask another?
Sure.
Thought leadership.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are trying to connect. You are assuming two things here: thought leadership, that's a quality, and spiritual intelligence, those two qualities. You are assuming that you have those.
I am not assuming anything.
Okay.
I'm just collectively using mine and others' experience and put it in a template.
So, when you think about thought leaders, you think about some very people with very unique, out of the world, out of the box ideas. Same thing about spiritual intelligence. So, we are talking about here how to connect with people. I agree with all the bullets, but I don't understand thought leadership. Thought leadership doesn't just come through thin air. It doesn't get to you through process of osmosis or absorbed in your head. Same thing with spiritual intelligence. Unless you're well-read, well-informed, you have read a lot of books about from religions to philosophy. So here, again, I'm having difficulty understanding these.
Well, I appreciate the points, and thought leadership, most companies are trying to create thought leaders. What you said was relevant, but now a lot of the changes which are happening, especially due to social media, anyone potentially can be a thought leader. It's not going to happen overnight, but I've seen people who may have started mid-career or altered course, but over a period of time, if they can provide information which people are seeking, even if they don't have the right pedigree to go with that, they can make a difference and they can be some kind of thought leader. So once again, I have taken my goal is to take as many points as possible and give you the buffet. You pick whatever is the best for you and create your own meal. If you agree to everything and eat everything, you will get indigestion. So that is the philosophy behind this.
I think here is where I feel more comfortable,
Okay.
if you don't mind. If I were to rephrase that same bullet, he said, if you are a thought leader, use that quality. If you understand, if you are a spiritual leader, a spiritual intelligence, use that to connect with people. In other words, you are using your strengths to connect. If I were to rephrase that sentence, it will probably come across better than what the way you put it.
That's a really good feedback.
Okay.
I mean, I read Marcus Buckingham's book on strength and Strength Finder. Anyone has heard of that? That's a really good book. But I personally don't totally agree with the book where he says you have top 6 strengths out of the other 30. Well, in my book, I said your strengths are like vowel, but the other points are also like consonants, and you have to know them all. Especially now with so much changes coming from your context, if you have to embrace and understand the context, you have to use things which are not your strengths too. Because strengths are designed to make you look forward, whereas you need to look sideways, where what is not your strength, because they didn't get developed, that's why they are your context. So understanding the context, acquiring the peripheral vision and knowledge is very key. Okay, hopefully you can ask me questions. I know this, spend a lot of time in networking with, as I told you my story. Most people I know, 80% of top people I've met is through doing this philanthropic work, which is a lot of time, but it's just got me super connected. I can throw events anywhere. Most of my members are in San Francisco, but early last year I started throwing events in South Bay, and they are fairly successful too. So I just know how to tap people because of all the networks I created and because of network with very varied length of people. Like through this philanthropy, I was mentor of models, fashion. That's why TiE asked me back to be the advisor of Fashion Show last year. And I got fed up with models. And this year, I'm happy to tell you that I was mentor of Latino media icon, Emmy Award winner. We became so good friends. We are working in the same office. And I'm throwing event in Google on 10th on how to pitch to media better, where there are people from CNET, and we have already done one event, where we want startups to get in front of media. So this is how all the networking, all the philanthropy, volunteerism, personal business, they have all converged. And it's very difficult to, distinguish those. Okay, so we move to rule 5. Maybe they like this rule too much, so doesn't want to go to the next one. What happened? We are stuck here? Okay, rule 5. Oh, it's that side? Okay, so this is also controversial, so definitely there'll be questions on that, and it's good. But ultimately, this is going to guide you. You know, what you do your outer pitch is connected to your inner pitch. What you tell yourself every moment, your belief system, is going to ultimately determine how you network and how you meet with people. Once again, I took some of these out of my book in a very quick manner because Naeem wanted a presentation. So I hope everything is not correct, because I keep back to my formula. If everything is correct, you're living in the past, out of touch with reality. Okay. And now we come to the last two. And I got some really good feedback from Mr. Batra. Thank you for that, because many of this has been taken from my book, Design Your Mindset, which is a new name. And so I put in a lot of deeper stuff than what you would normally do for networking. But a lot of it is your inner stuff. A lot of outside success is your belief system. So the rule 6 is communicate your pitch. People come to me to pitch around the world, but pitching is just not pitching to investors. Pitching doesn't mean that you have a product. You yourself, you are a product. You are your own brand. So you have to keep pitching, because as in the past, society was more structured, so you didn't have to pitch. Everything was set in stone. That was the industrial age. But now, with the social media revolution and change taking over, you have to constantly pitch. With existing structures of society breaking down, you have to keep pitching for, it's just not have to be funding. You have to pitch to get your ideas across. You have to get your buy-in. If you have whatever you're doing, you need to first pitch it to your followers. Even if they work for you, unless you pitch it to them and secure their buy-in, you are not going to be successful in your project as much as you could have. So, rule 6, the next one is improve posture, body language, non-verbal communication. All this also makes a difference. When you are going, the attitude you are going to an event, if you are afraid, or if people read on energy, it's just not what you say. Once again, Indian philosophy has like 5 levels of energy. We have the physical body, we have the subtle body, we have the astral body, and your total energy system. Also, the subtle people will pick up on the subtle message. So you can work on it, really improve your body language, posture, breathe deeply. Then listen actively with rapport and empathy. Our friend who was here before, Jay, he's amazing, and he's expert in that. He's really good at listening to everybody. Then sustain attention, which means you have to really pay attention. This line can be improved, but I haven't thought about how to improve this. But what it means is you got to always take cues. What you're saying, if it's not working, you have to correct midway, make midterm corrections. So you have to, not when you're talking to people, you have to observe, get the visual cues, use your other faculties, how you feel and how you see, your empathy, and your perception. You have to work on them to connect with people. So the next point is master storytelling, online, offline, and within yourself, because people like to hear stories. And if what you're saying, if it's too logical, that means you are missing out on a part of reality. Because your mind, you have the logical mind, but if you read any book on motivation, on spirituality, they all talk about your subconscious mind, which has much more power. So that is where a lot of information which you don't need right now, you are storing in the subconscious mind. And if you can really speak to their heart and really get into influence their subconscious mind, you can create a bigger impact on the person. Trust me on that. So last but not the least, think of yourself as a PR person. Know how to control your medium, way you're talking. Like today, I just talked to the Korean startups, 7 of them, near, like just round the corner. And the homework I gave them, I said, everyone come out with a press release. They won contests in Korea and they have come here, but I told them, hey, you know what? You're pitching here, but just write a release. If you don't know English that well, write in your language and just send an email to everybody. You know, treat every event like as if it is eventful, as if it is something which needs PR and media. So that way you can really amplify it. And if you can touch people's heart, they will share it. And your message can really magnify and expand. Okay, question on this? Any question? Okay, this is, now if you don't ask a question, we are really disappointed.
So I already have raised my own bar, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he used up all the questions for tonight.
He used up all the questions for tonight. Okay, that can work also. Okay, now we come to the last rule. Other way around. It wants to regress. We always don't, progress as civilization. We sometimes regress into into wars, in chaos and crime. So, rule 7, be found on social media through your personal brand. So this is the ultimate in networking. Whereas who you're trying to network with, who you're trying to tap, if you can attract them to your life, then that is the highest level of networking. Then you don't have to go and network with them, person who, say you wrote a blog about your startup, about your product, and suddenly the person you want to sell to VMware, and suddenly you get approached by VMware saying, hey, can you come and speak to our marketing people because your ideas are so great. That's an example. So the key is to be found. And to be found, and what you do online is very tied to what you're networking. How you create your personal brand. Because if someone with a great personal brand, if Vinod Khosla walks in right now, even if he keeps quiet and don't try to network, we'll all go and try to network with him. So it's like once you have your reputation, that then you don't have to go and network. Everyone will come to you. And but to do that, you have to look at it as a whole, not as a discrete that, okay, I'm going and networking. Every moment you have to look at your personal brand and how you create the unity between when you go and meet someone or what you do online or what you do offline, and everything is connected. So you just cannot look at something as a isolated occurrence, but it has to really fit in. And if you keep doing the right thing again and again and again over a period of time, it's like simple interest can become compound interest. And a lot of the steps, even though they may sound very minuscule in the short run, but when you add all of them up, and the day they start multiplying, it hits the hockey stick. Trust me, when you go somewhere, people will want to network with you. So the next point is, once again, this is very complex points to explain. And first point was get crowdsourced from within the corporate firewalls, means get seeked out. Like what I wrote in my book, one example, common example, P&G, 50% of their research budget are now crowdsourced outside. So companies increasingly want to get the seek out innovation from people who are operating in small silos. So if you can somehow build that, that could take you to the next level. Next point, keep your social identity fluid and enhances your chances of being found. So sometimes you have to be, if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're trying to sell your product, On the other hand, maybe you're trying to create a new product. Sometimes you have to wear multiple hats. And maybe you're trying to sell your product to a company, but maybe some other hat when you are doing the accounting, or you just don't know who will come. Because most of the time now, people are seeking you out through the social media. Even this Korean today is a good example. I was throwing event at Wilson Sonsini, and they came there last week, and they wanted to bring a huge delegation. I said, okay, number of ticket you buy, you can bring double the number of people. That's fine. And they all came. Then they pitched with us, and today I was speaker there. So it's like people will seek you out. As you are seeking others, others are also seeking you. People who are in recruiting or who are in talent or anything. The companies are looking for fresh sources, fresh ideas, fresh insights. So you are trying to reach the right person. The right person is for the right person. You could be the right person they are trying to seek. So just put yourself out there and make yourself easy to deal with. User experience of yourself, make it easy so that people can flow into you. Next point, it's pretty complicated point. I know it's tough to defend, but I put it there because I really believe in it. It is plant new dots so that you can be found tomorrow when they connect. That means, as I said earlier, a lot of change is coming from your context. And maybe you're really working hard in one specific thing, but take some time to say you start a blog about your prod industry. Then you also say volunteer in TiECon. And then someone who comes to that event has read your blog. And suddenly you may get some door may open up where 3 or 4 different things come together, because the solution which would be required in the future, that the offering is not there yet. And that offering, which would solve tomorrow's problems, could be connecting the dots or the seeds you're planting today. The next one is own your own platform with links to mainstream ones. Means have your own, don't make, even if you have a lot to offer, don't make Facebook rich by writing only on that, or LinkedIn rich. I mean, make yourself, even if you make lesser, create your own platform. But that doesn't mean that you wouldn't be on the other platforms. The key is to create the linkage so that people from other platform can quickly jump on yours and vice versa. Then capture and display your endorsements. If you have your own blog or if you have your own website, whenever someone says something positive, just capture that. I mean, this is I've learned by experience. I did not do that, but I've started doing that. And I've seen people who have done that. It makes a tremendous difference because it is called social proof. I read this book called, I think it's called Attention. It's called Influence. It's one of the best books I've ever read by Robert Cialdini. They used to teach that at Stanford. It is about how anthropological base of decision making. And one of the 7 was influence, like social proof. If other people are saying good things about you and you have them on your website, people will say, wow, that's how Yelp came about. It's like, okay, you are, but here you create your own Yelp. Just take the positive reviews. Don't let people write negative reviews. Take the positive and control it. And you just don't know who will read it and who will, someone may be new in town and they may be looking exactly for what you're offering. Then the last point is, if everything works, then maybe it can create this. You cannot do it in a conscious manner. You have to, the luck and chance and skill, they all has to come together. But sometimes it does. And if that happens, you create the movement of you so that your followers can make yourself viral. That is ultimate in networking, where you become famous for something, and that could happen. And key is to restore that dream, restore that passion which we are all born with, but over the years we lose that. It's happened to a lot of us, and we have tried to regain it too. But if you create that positive frame of mind, something which would keep you very, very agile and active and anticipating towards life, life just could take you to where you never thought. So on that note, I have finished the 7 rules. Any questions on this? And then we'll go forward. Any question? Okay, I think this is good enough because this is the recap. All of them is here. And we have the 7 rules in the middle. Part A is you got to go deeper, really embrace change. And when I started writing my book, I said things like, change is the essence of anything in the universe. It's looking back is very motherhood and very superficial thing to say. Now I'm saying embrace the paradox of change. Means if something appears very logical, I know I'm repeating it, but it is one of my key things, key takeaways. You are out of touch with reality because the future is uncertain, unknown. A lot of it is you don't know that you don't know, so it can't be perfect. So if there's imperfection, that means you're on the right path. And the second point is clean the doors of your perception every day. Now, this is, how many of you are familiar with perception? The meaning of perception. This is a very key word, and we never learned this word in school or anywhere. But perception is actually, psychologically, is the opposite of judgment. If you say how do you define perception, I would say it is opposite of judgment. But to really make it to layman's term, you can say it's your nonverbal or visual intelligence. That means we are every moment of time we are bombarded by so many information that our mind makes shortcuts, and we create perceptions to stop dealing with too many factors. But that is a good thing. But the bad thing is we create judgments, which most judgments may be good at that point, but over a period of time, that judgment loses relevance. So we have to update our judgment about things. And perception is a means by which you can make your judgment current. And I give example of someone. If he gets to know, he's a really nice guy, so he wouldn't mind. That's why even without naming names, I gave his example. He's a really good friend of mine. He used to work for a big VC fund in San Francisco. Everyone used to think, wow, guy's great. And then he started a company. I'm just saying it to you because others heard the story. And then that company failed and everyone started looking down on him. And then I always liked him, so we kept being friends. But then he raised his own fund and doing really well now. And if I had not kept my judgment current, then I would be missing out my relationship with this person, which I'm doing business with. So you have to update your perception every day, because more change is happening, more your existing perception is out of touch with reality, because it was your reality, correct, accurate, 1 day before, 1 year before, but now it is correct till 1 year or 1 day. But the change has happened, so you have to change the perception so that you become upgraded to change. Like as I wrote in my book, most of my busy friends say they catch up with their sleep on the weekend. I say catch up with your change during your weekend so that you can keep up with change. Okay, the 7 rules, pretty simple on the surface. Connect with new people, connect with new knowledge, connect with new experience, connect in new ways like volunteerism, and then you saw the other 3. Connect with your inner self, communicate your pitch, which you have to pitch all the time to every person, and be found on social media through your personal brand. But you also have to do the part C, which is thrive, which means eventually you need to convert connections into wealth and wellness. Because you meet people, you have to help each other. You should not be shy of asking for help. And the best way you learn how to ask for help is to give help, so that your channel of giving and taking both complement each other. And the last point is make everyone thrive, which is connected with the first point. So on that note, this is the total discussions. And any last question?
Can you talk just a moment about social media? Because sometimes I feel I've been left behind by all the different kinds of social media that have developed. For example, is Twitter really necessary? If you're trying to pursue these
You know, that's a great question. Your context is very important. Everything is not necessary. You and I, we may use Twitter in totally opposite ways and get the same results, or we use totally same way and get the opposite results. So I personally don't use it because I can only do so much, and most of my business, I need to target people who are either in the local area or coming to the local area. So for me, I'm big on Meetup. I have 12,000 people in all my groups, and I pay for other groups too. So the more people will see me in the Meetup calendar, that's a better ROI for me. So you have to define your own reality and execute on it, but not get swayed by popular opinion too much.
What about Facebook? I see people just posting all their pictures and all that, and first thing was delete. I'm not interested in where you are doing, what you are doing. I don't have the time to waste on your page.
Yeah, it's I can say Matt is one of my members, and what I said is related to that. For me, I use it to promote events. I don't really read what others say. I couldn't care less. But I need some of these audience, so I would kind of maybe whoever I feel could come, I would add them, and then maybe get those audience. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. I mean, I don't like all my life to be advertised, but I also need. It's a media, especially being in events. It's one of the channel of distribution. Since I have pretty strong network, why let go of that?
So, any thoughts around the fact that take Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn? So, at the time it seems to me that that's perception. My perception that Twitter is sort of both a mix of professional and personal, where people can sort of sneak in a joke, but at the same time they can sort of reflect something professional. Facebook seems to be more biased towards your personal life. How do these sort of, in your knowledge, how does it reflect on a particular person's profile or personality vis-a-vis networking? Because companies are sort of open to look at all these three. So
Sure.
Do we need to sort of follow certain protocol when you, LinkedIn, I know, I cannot crack a joke there because people, this guy is a freak. So I know the protocol there because sort of LinkedIn is more professional, but any thoughts around that?
Key is, one is that you really have to include that in your consciousness, which you are doing, which is okay. You should not deal with it. If you don't want to be on Facebook, it's your decision. Not that, okay, Facebook is bad. Maybe it's bad. It's not relevant to you. So you just got to take charge of be your own platform. And you have to decide whether you want to be on that. As I said, Twitter, sometimes when I have volunteers or interns, I can say, hey, tweet this. Or I know sometimes I do events with group called Pitch Fashion Tech. So I am on Instagram. I don't know how to even open it, but I would tell the person who's my volunteer, hey, put these, just load them on Instagram. Whatever that person does, they do. And so my choice is I don't really want to deal with an Instagram. But once again, it's a necessary evil if I'm in attracting people business. So I would want to have some presence on it indirectly. Any other question? Okay, so you have a question?
No, I'm going to say a few things after you say.
Sorry?
I think it lakes right now where you want to network with people with same interest or same skills or same things that they want to do. And if you connect with them, then it's win-win for both. Otherwise, it's like you're shooting in the air and go and network because you don't know.
Well, there could be multiple ways of looking at it. That's one. but then some of them can be your competition. Maybe what you're providing, if you network with someone of the same interest and their offering is the same, then maybe someone who's new outside your interest, who wants to have some interest in what you do, but they don't really know, maybe they could be better audience for you. So the key is there's no right answer. It's about take a laboratory mentality and keep looking at your experience. It's very, very difficult. And I have read all these to come up with my book, and I'm now rebranding it, as I said, Design Your Mindset. And one thing I've realized which can help, I have come up with that every day take some time to observe your experience. End of the day, 5 minutes. Look at what you did that day as a silent movie. Then when you end, that's a half time. Now look at what you will do tomorrow as a silent movie. If you start doing that, then a lot of times when we act out of just habit or unconscious, and there's nothing wrong with it, without habit or without automating some part, we will go crazy. So we need that, but we also have to keep examining things which our mind is taking for granted.
The networking outside your social network is good. I have experienced it myself that it's like a brainstorming, and it boosts creativity because you get their paradigm, their
Sure.
different thinking, and that way you get more knowledge of different area, but it helps your thinking process.
Sure, absolutely. And TiE is a good example. A lot of people who came together in TiE, in the past, they did not have the chance to meet each other. And even though there were a lot of South Asians in the area, they didn't know each other because they were in silos, they were doing jobs. And I believe that some VIP from India had come and his flight was late. So all 10, 15 people were stuck in the airport waiting for him. And they started chatting. And that's how they began TiE. And they formalized it. And so people from outside their network came together because they wanted to welcome this person. And that created so much change and network.
Different field, like not your field, but
Sure.
different field.
Yeah,
You are in computer science and maybe someone biochemist.
yeah.
Biologist.
Absolutely. Like you are in, say, someone is an AI programmer, he has an AI startup. Maybe the person is not getting much traction, but if they go to, say, fashion event, or they go to, maybe they'll meet a co-founder, and they say, okay, let's make AI for fashion, or AI for, so you just have to go out of your comfort zone because the change is coming from outside the comfort zone. That comes with the territory. Oh, wow, it's my good luck that God has come down from heaven.
People think this is guy from, who's this guy standing behind him? I'm from Desi Lives Matter. I'm the protester. So anyway, my name is Naeem Zafar. I'm the director of TiE Institute, and we are experimenting, and thank you for our speaker tonight. We're experimenting with this platform, inviting different people who have unique skills and knowledge to come share with the community. So I do several workshops. Thanks for coming. We'll invite you and other people to do some.
Sure.
And I also want to share a couple of my perspective on the answers you gave, just because we have 15 minutes ahead of schedule, that's why.
Okay.
So do you mind?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Wow.
No,
I mean,
just-
people pay a lot to hear your perspective.
No, this
So
is-
they're like, people have to charge back. They have to pay TiE to hear your
So
perspective.
first, let's give a hand to our speaker. So I think that it's just touching on a couple of points because I think interesting discussion, and thank you for the sharing here. So you asked the question, what's the best way to use social media? So the two thoughts I'd like to share with you. One is, just let's talk about networking in general. Why would people want to network with you? Who are you? You have to be either interesting. If you're interesting, people, being interesting takes effort. What he's talking about is how to be interesting. You acquire new knowledge, you have new skills, you have new perspective because you go to new events. So be interesting. Now this takes investment of time and I highly recommend it, but not everybody does it. So, I go through like 25 to 30 books a year. I publish around Christmas time all the books I read this year and why I like them. So it takes a lot of effort. Now, I'm reading them audiobook while I'm driving to Berkeley to teach. So that gives me plenty of time to catch up on my reading. But nevertheless, you have to be interesting. Now, if you're not interesting, at least be interested. If you're not even interested, you're out of the game, buddy. What does it take to be interested? Ask interesting question and pay attention, make eye contact when the guy is telling you. That's the least you could do. If you're neither interesting nor interested, you're out of the game. So to follow the rules, I think an overlay of this thing is to think about that. And I think that what this speaker very justly pointed out, how to be interesting, and I'm just layering another level of top of that which may give you a perspective. Second point you made was how to use some of these things. So Twitter can be very powerful. LinkedIn, of course, is powerful. How is Twitter powerful? Twitter is, a lot of people use it stupidly. What did I eat? Line is too long. Starbucks sucks. Who cares? Twitter is a voice. You have to develop a voice. You have to be loyal to your voice. So your voice could be about sports, could be about entrepreneurship, could be about innovation, could be about networking, but you got to stay true to your voice. 70% of your tweets should be informing of your synthesis, your opinion, or informing what you read. It could be sharing, could be 100% sharing other articles. If you're sharing an article, give your perspective. Summarize it. Why did you matter to you? Why are we sharing? 20% could be other personal. Like I did this, I went to this event to give a talk, and I saw something like that. So that's 20%, not more than 20%. And 10% could be off topic. So you're not really talking about entrepreneurship. If this is the voice, you can share something off topic. But if you follow this 70-20-10 rule, then you're being honest and true to your voice. Once you have a voice, you're relevant. When you have a voice, you're followed, you're copied, but you're all over the map, you have no voice. Then it's a waste of time. With Facebook, the same thing. Facebook gives you the flexibility to have a personal account and a professional account. So I have my personal account, which is more for friends and family, but I have Startup Advisor, which is my professional account, when I can maintain my voice, share useful and interesting things. My objective on Twitter and Facebook is, I have an audience. I need to feed them something of value. If I'm not adding value, they will not care for me. What can I give them which is a synthesis, perspective, something insightful, so they value it? So if you follow some of the social media rule, you could have momentum. Most people don't follow the rules. So I think there's some good guidelines here. I'm giving a couple of additional thoughts altogether, hopefully useful to you. So I won't belabor you because you had a very good talk tonight. We're planning to do some other talks, the whole calendar. TiE Eco app you can download, has the most latest information. Every month we'll be doing a TiE Institute. Either I'll be teaching something or I'll be bringing somebody else to teach. And if you want to teach, you want to share your knowledge, contact me. We'll make the platform available to you. Any last question, comment before we say goodnight to you?
How would you characterize Trump's tweets?
Which one?
All the one day one tweet, another day he controls.
Yeah, so brilliant. It's so brilliant that you guys are missing the point, or not you guys, meaning broad people. He's master at promoting, distracting, changing the conversation, inserting himself, changing the rules. He's getting so much free publicity, it's unbelievable. It's brilliant. His brand will last not 99 years. So it's all the shenanigans. Do I like what he says? No, but I admire the brilliance of the marketing. When everybody's feeling he's stupid, he's not stupid. He's eating you for lunch. You don't even know it. You like to share as well, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely he's creation of social media, and he has proved that even a layman can use, if you become expert on media and speaking, you can achieve the impossible. Whether it's in a good way or a bad way, we are not doing value judgment, but what Naeem said is tremendous. And on that note, Naeem is one of the globally connected South Asians. He probably, any country you go, you'll be able to make connection if you drop his name. So you start following him on Twitter and every platform, and liking that and sharing that.
You're too kind. It's too kind. Don't go that far. But it's good to see many of you again. Any last comment, questions? You know, it's your community. This is your forum. We're not serving anybody else. We're serving ourselves. So let's share, let's thrive, let's connect, let's make it meaningful conversation. Not just one way, make it two-way. So next 30 minutes, we are doing some networking. So do it. Buy the book.
Okay. Well, nine, even me. And with the TiE sign.
I'm going to tweet this or Instagram this. Snapchat. By the way, Snapchat, don't invest in Snapchat.
Oh God. I mean, that's like
No.
horrible.
You guys are missing the point. Snapchat is going to be huge. Either they miss it or they would, because there's no other way to take topics and break it down into small snaps. You'll be getting your news 5 years from now or 2 years from now on Snapchat while standing in line on Starbucks.
Open me an account, Snapchat account.
You have to master it. You have to master it, but it's the way to deliver content in a chewable chunks and people will consume it while you don't expect it. You don't have to be there. What Twitter did for me was, you see, again being a Desi, it was hard for me to blog. I have to admit to you. I have to get my grammar right, and Desis don't know where to put articles. We just get confused with articles, our tenses, you know. So blogging was like hard work. So somebody told me, hey, you don't have to write a long sentence. It's 140 characters. And your English doesn't have to be correct either. I said, really? I said, well, but then how will I find people who will read my blog? I said, no, people find you. I said, really? I said, what does it cost? Oh, it's free. Sign me up. You know, so if I can just write my bad English, people find me and follow me, and it's free, I'm all over it. So Snapchat, similarly, has promise. We haven't understood Snapchat. Snapchat will be, or the equivalent that Facebook is coming up with, is going to be big. So chew on that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. I understand the importance of what we have talked about, but one of my personal challenge, I've been building a startup for the last couple of years, and I've been trying to really put myself out there. I have a lot to say about the product. Product is working as well. But I have really, when I start creating content, writing a blog post, I have probably around 5 or 6 blog posts, which are like 60% done. But I really am trying to find how do I push myself out to say that, yes, this is complete and move it ahead. So that the roadblock, I think quite a few of us face that mental block in terms of pushing out and starting to share the content. So what is your recommendation on really getting to it?
So let's give you a couple of tips which then frames your question. First of all, on the internet, remember the rule number 1. You engage, you amuse, you infuriate, you insult, but you never ever sell. The moment it smells like you're selling me something, I'm switching out. So this whole art of doing everything but selling, you can piss people off, you can yell at people, you can insult them, you can humor them, all acceptable. That's engagement. So that's rule number 1. Number 2, writing blogs which are self-serving. Look at me so pretty, which most blogs are, is stupid. Nobody wants to read that. So you have to be informing. You have to be relevant. A good way to do marketing, for example, if you want to write long blogs, Quora. Quora is a B2B marketing tool. Quora is, ask any question, you answer. You start answering a question in Quora with some relevance, and your score goes up. People are suddenly like, who's this guy? He's saying useful things. And they come to your site. That's how you sell. It's like anti-selling. So how to use social media to your advantage is an art form. And our speaker may have additional things to say. Please, it's your night. I was just saying, introducing you.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think all I can add to that is, you got to take this and go deeper. Just make sure you write down that I'm going to look at Quora, look at this, make that actionable item. That's most important. But sometimes if it's too difficult, just don't be a solo player. If you think your startup, are you the sole founder or do you have a co-founder? Co-founder. So maybe the co-founder can help you complete it. Maybe you're good with generating the ideas. Maybe co-founder is better at completing them. Or maybe you meet someone else who wants to say they are graduated recently, they are good with writing, but they are looking to get into your industry. And you can tell that person, hey, can you co-write this with me? So sometimes you have to give and take help.
I mean, there are writers outside who will help you blog. They'll complete it. You can even start. If I were you, I'll start a blog called 80% blog, which is I'm going to present you 80% complete thoughts. I want you to complete it, and you'll publish who did the best job completing your thought.
Yeah, I think I got my answer partially correct. So my question was, how do you really deal with perfection? So
You don't. That's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're willing to expose yourself, your vulnerability, then you're more likable, you're more acceptable. Because otherwise you look like you came out of a polished Procter & Gamble ad campaign, So be silly, be stupid. Start writing about the fights you and your co-founder have. You may have the most popular blog. I mean, this is the thing people want to read. They want to read how good your product is. Who cares? That's not interesting. Yeah, so amuse people, insult people, engage people. One of the best company which has done a good job on this, who would have thunk? Starbucks. There's a whole website called mystarbucksidea.com. 2.2 million visitors. And they ask you to say, how could we improve our product? I think if I get right now exact statistic, like 22,000 ideas submitted, 375 implemented. They tell you this thing, whatever, they put a little sticker so your coffee doesn't jump out of your cup because it came back from some guy. Sarah Bannerman from Maine suggested this. So they tell you, so now people go there to suggest ideas, say, did my idea get accepted? That's engagement.
Good, I'm going to enforce my idea that they should play music very low. One area where I live.
Yeah, so you should suggest that. See, we're talking about it. Actually, we're talking about it. Is Starbucks happy? Yes.
I like to play so much, but there is
Yeah.
loud music and I can focus.
Exactly, so-
But I go there, first thing I walk up to them, please lower your music.
But guys, let me just share with you, again, off topic, but maybe interesting. So I did a talk on this topic, so the 2-hour talk, so let me just share with you. Turns out, Starbucks analyzes user experience on 37 different parameters, such as smell of the store, music, loudness of store, comfort of the chair, smell of the coffee, ease of making payment, time to wait. These are different 37 parameters to measure. Their whole deal is some parameters they want to really optimize, and some parameters they intentionally leave it bad. Bigger the delta between the peak and the valley, more you remember them, more you go to them. So example, in US, they have optimized the time to make the payment. You cannot tell me a single store where the payment is faster than Starbucks. It is like, boom, done. No, nothing to sign. Done. Well, like, what? They have really optimized. And they have not optimized. Pricing is very annoying, very high, too expensive. Music, things like that. In China, they have in different regions, they optimize different things. In China, the best optimization is smell of the store. That's the most optimized. Payment, who cares? Payment takes long too, don't worry about it. So they have done research. Bigger the delta between peak and the valley, more people remember it. So this is intentional, that's my point.
So all musicians, they pay Starbucks to promote their music.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Starbucks store
Yeah.
managers.
Yeah, they make a lot of money on that, selling those CDs.
So
Yeah.
they're for them musicians,
Yeah.
advertisement, so they play it.
So thanks for coming. Do enjoy. Don't leave yet. Talk to each other. Don't go home till you have at least 4 business cards collected. And I want you to write something on the back of the business card, which is not on the front of the business card, which will force you to have a conversation like, what the hell did you do? Where did you go to vacation? Whatever it is. If you haven't written on the back of the card something, you're not done yet. Keep talking. Because then I want you to do it within 3 weeks, make an emotional deposit. Send something, some article, something about what you wrote on the back of the card. That's called making an emotional deposit. Do that. And you'll be surprised, your network will grow at different rate.
More advice.